All right, everybody. Thank you very much for joining. Thank you for registering and joining us today. My name is Matthew Bester, and I'm your Global Channel Success Manager for mining. With me is Owen Howells, our Senior Solutions Architect for mining. And today we're looking at the volumes, so from GeoSLAM Mining. So automated volumes for GeoSLAM mining is the latest innovation in GeoSLAM's offering. And let's just move on there. So GeoSLAM mining, with many years of mining experience, GeoSLAM has built products and solutions that are made for demanding environments such as mining. The ease of use of our systems enables immediate uptake with minimal training requirements. Our quick data capture solutions help you save time and therefore result in optimizing your operations. We have world-class after-sale support in the form of GeoSLAM Care, knowledge base access, as well as the Academy, which we are proud of. With a reduced footprint on site, we help with safety and your goal towards zero harm. And then the ability to operate in GNSS denied environments or in complete darkness allows you to deploy GeoSLAM technology at any site at any time. So our latest technology platform is called GeoSLAM Connect, and that enables automation of processes like never before and allows for digitalization of key processes of your mine. This video that we're going to show you now will explain a little bit more.
Every day, thousands of people are using their GeoSLAM devices to collect data about the world around them. From skyscrapers in Shanghai to mines in Mexico, mapping our surroundings in 3D has never been easier. GeoSLAM maps a multi-level office building 10 times faster than using a terrestrial scanner. And if there's stairs or lots of small rooms, no problem. Sarah flies a UAV over a forest to collect information about the type, height and density of trees. She collects all of the data she needs in a 10-minute flight. Processing multiple data sets and sharing the results with different people in different locations can take a long time. This can make projects harder to collaborate on. The same post-processing steps are often repeated by multiple users, causing delays to your teams. Introducing GeoSLAM Connect, our smart data platform. GeoSLAM Connect takes your GeoSLAM scan data and automatically processes it, applies your workflow, and saves the information in the file location of your choosing. Manage ever-increasing amounts of data. Work smart. Automate your data processing. Collect the data as often as you need to. Anyone can use a ZEP. Keep a digital archive of your information with automated file storage. You own the data, always. The best after-sale support with GeoSLAM Care. Add-on software packages are also available for automated insight into your data beyond a point cloud. With the Construction Progress add-on, you can track the percentage of completion for your building projects, producing automatic updates as regularly as you want. Or maybe you need help managing large property portfolios. With the Floor Plans add-on, you could have floor plan data of entire buildings in minutes, not days. So now Youssef, Sarah, and the rest of the team can spend less time processing and extracting the information they need and more time collecting data. Your data made easy with GeoSLAM Connect.
So thank you for that, Owen. Let's move along. We'll talk a little bit more about GeoSLAM Connect as we move on through this presentation. Thank you very much for your patience in that regard. So let's look at GeoSLAM mining a little bit more closely. So who uses GeoSLAM mining? So if you want fast, accurate data capture technology that can be used by anyone on the mine, and then be able to use your own data and analysis in further downstream processes as part of your automation strategy, for instance, then GeoSLAM mining is definitely for you. So these are our mining clients, and they've trusted GeoSLAM technology in their operations, and they use our technology in various instances, including volumetric calculations. So GeoSLAM Volumes is an automated system that helps you with your tonnage calculation. It's a safe, accurate, and easy to use system to simplify your volumetric analysis. So easy acquisition of data with GeoSLAM technology and analysis at time interval that suits you is at your fingertips with GeoSLAM Volumes. So where to use GeoSLAM Volumes? Anywhere in your value chain where you need to account for current volume or change over time, to check inventory or to keep track of your current sellable product, that is where you will use GeoSLAM Volume. So anywhere in your value chain where there's a stockpile, you will be able to use our product. There are alternative methods, and when considering volume analysis systems, consider the workflows that are sometimes time-consuming and laborious. It does not lend itself to automation specifically. And this is where GeoSLAM Connect and GeoSLAM Volume comes in. With automated point cloud processing, registration of adjuster control, automated filtering, cleaning, and calculation of data, data management, alarming and notifications, all of these things making your time less on site and enabling you to understand your volumetric a little bit more. There are other considerations when looking at alternative methods. Things like environmental, such as weather conditions and not being able to operate at night. Resources. GeoSLAM technology enables you to minimize the amount of people required for the task. So that helps you to minimize your footprint. The frequency. What is the cadence of data capture and the appetite for new measurements in that part of your operation, if you want to think about that? Maintenance. GeoSLAM technology have minimal maintenance requirements, where other options are sometimes a little bit more cost intensive. Looking at a published paper for stockpile volume capture of around 15,000 square meters, that took about 15.5 hours to generate single volume with other methods. With GeoSLAM Connect and GeoSLAM Volumes, the same project delivered repeatable and automated measurements within a fraction of the time. So with GeoSLAM Connect and GeoSLAM Volume automation, you can now have reliable volumes, not just within the day or within the shift, but within the hour. So to talk a little bit more about how this works and how the beauty of these systems help you to gain all these benefits, I will now want to pass you to Mr. Owen Howells to talk a little bit more about the products and how they work. Thank you, Owen.
Hi, yeah, cheers, Matthew. Thanks for going through that stuff with us. So what I'm going to mainly focus on now is try and show everybody what we've been working on, essentially, what our geniuses behind the computers have been quietly plugging away at to try and ensure that we can answer to the kind of automation questions our customers have, and how we've kind of tailored this whole solution to be start and end GeoSLAM. The more automation we can introduce, we're decreasing the likelihood of erroneous results coming into the question. So that's what I'm going to try and go through today, and I'll try and go through some of the other various steps we have in our workflow to try and show what makes our solution much better than competitors, essentially, and what will make processes easier on sites. So I've split this into sections to try and make it easier for you guys to understand. And the first bit we're going to talk about is how we do the scan, and what do we do in the scan to try and make this process as easier and as automated as possible. And we will sort of dive into what is changing with GeoSLAM Hub, and how we're going to slowly transition into GeoSLAM Connect, and how that's going to help with all this. So the first stage, the actual data acquisition, nothing really changes there apart from the introduction of control, which isn't a new concept. What is changing is how the control is used in the processing, and that's what we'll go over first. So assigning control, I'm sure you're all quite familiar with this. You know, control is a very straightforward concept when acquiring data. We are going to try and standardize this for this workflow. So this is one of our projects where we've been spearheading the volumetric capture for them using a ZEB horizon. And around this stockpile shed, we have assigned control just using survey pins, survey markers. Standard procedure here: 4 is ideal, 3 is minimum, and at different areas around the stockpile. And all we do, we start the system normally. In this example, is a ZEB horizon. We start it as normal. We walk up to the survey marker. We put it down on the marker for 10 seconds. This will then mark that area in the scan. It'll mark that point on the trajectory. So every time you come back and do the scan of that stockpile, we'll just follow the same procedures again. We'll start the scanner, we go up to the same reference point, not necessarily in the same order. We don't need to do that because our software can cope with them being in different orders, and it will assign the reference points to those using our constellation mapping method. So it's quite straightforward. You don't need a highly skilled surveyor to do this. You know, we are aware that a lot of sites want to do this kind of capture with any level of operator, and that's what we've tried to factor in when trying to get this workflow together. So this is where quite a lot of our changes have come in recently. I'm sure a lot of you are aware, but just for the people who aren't, up till now, our processing suite has been GeoSLAM Hub, and it's been fantastic for us. We just drag and drop the data and it'll process the scan. However, if we want to automate this workflow, we want a way of kind of controlling this and trying to have set parameters in place that'll try and control the end result. In Hub, to get the control points referenced and to get the exported last to the right place, there's quite a lot of clicking, which up till now has been fine. A lot of our customers are happy doing that. But if we truly want to go towards a more automated workflow, we've had to work quite hard to try and get something together where a lot of these steps are automated. So on the left there, in Hub, you conduct the scan, you transfer the scan from the data logger with a USB drive, drag and drop the data. Then after processing is complete, you assign the control points manually. Then you export the last to the chosen directory manually. With GeoSLAM Connect, which is going to take over from Hub in the next few months, again, you conduct the scan, you transfer the scan from the data logger using a USB drive, then you import the data set to GeoSLAM Connect. It will then assign the standardized workflow for volumes. That will process the data, it will align the data, and it will export the data in whatever format you need to whichever directory you need automatically. So essentially, as soon as the data is on your PC and processing, after all the processing is done, you will have the volume. We'll show you those steps as well now, but there's a lot less clicking, there's a lot less places essentially for some people to put the data in the wrong place or to assign the wrong coordinate. These things happen. It's these kind of bottlenecks is what we're trying to avoid. And the introduction of control and the automation of that control will result in us being able to overlap data. Overlapping data means we can keep one volumes project open and have the same kind of characteristics, the same boundaries, the same flow working. Overlapping data is what we need. We need it all in the same reference system. So that was kind of a crash course in what Connect is going to do for us. And you know, what we've covered so far is how the data is going to be prepared for us in the correct way. But now we're going to go into the actual volume software. So GeoSLAM Volumes is its own software that we sell individually from this. Yeah, and a lot of the project creation, we need to create the project first in GeoSLAM Volumes for it to be automated then. I suppose there's no surprises there. So as soon as you open GeoSLAM Volumes, this is what you'll have. You need to open a project. We're not going to go over that stuff. That stuff's very straightforward. First thing we need to do then is set your advanced settings. This is what we've been working quite hard on recently. So this is what the advanced settings look like. So this is the kind of surface filtering. This is what our customers have asked for. The surface filter there is probably the most important element of this, but point decimation, elevation cropping, it's this level of automation is what we're after. And this is essentially what we get at the end. We get a fully processed point cloud. To take you back, so this is how the point cloud started, a standard acquisition, a really nice point cloud, but we've got a lot of infrastructure in the way. And we don't want the user manually cropping this out, having to take away the roof, having to take away the loaders and the diggers. This is what we can do. We can automatically take that away for you. Every time, every new scan that comes in, it'll automatically take that infrastructure, loaders, people walking around. So we're just left with the stockpile, and that's done automatically. So after our data is filtered, that filtering will happen to every data set. However, in order to process every data set, we need to set some boundaries up. So this video will show that quickly now. It's a very, very straightforward procedure. And this is why we need the data to be referenced, to be controlled, so it will overlap. So these boundaries that we set will be applicable to the same data set that comes in the week after or the month after. You don't have to do this every time. Every time you start a project, you'll have to do this per project, but not per scan. So in this example, we've just set the exclusion boundary. We're just telling the program that anything outside of this boundary, we don't need to worry about. We're just focusing on that one area. Then we set up the individual stockpile boundaries. This is quite critical. You can have as many of these as you wish. In this example, it's just one big stockpile, nice and easy. It's just one boundary we need. But you can have as many of these as you want, because critically, you can name these boundaries and then assign its characteristics, so the specific gravity or bulking factor. So that is where these boundaries really stand out. It becomes really, really useful on site because you will have some of these large warehouses or external stocks, so say in individual bins, that will have different specific gravities and so forth. And then we can turn on and off the processing for these individual boundaries as we go along. So that's really, really straightforward and a very useful thing. As I said, as soon as the first scan is brought in, we can then set up these boundaries. As soon as they're set up, the next week where you do the scan, it'll just come on top. It'll automatically process it using these same boundaries. The same goes for adding the flow. Again, a straightforward mechanism. There's three main methods that we use for this. A simple plane using a slider, an adjusted plane using 3 points, or importing a whole point cloud of that area without the stockpile. So if you have a scan of the area without the stockpile, that's what you tend to import there. But in this example, we're just going to use the adjusted plane using 3 points. So you just select 3 low points that represent the floor, and then as you saw there, it'll just adjust the plane straight away. As simple as that. It'll fit it to suit those 3 points. So like this shows, it's really straightforward to set up a project. And it's as soon as it's set up in this state, it's ready to wait for the next data set. By doing that, we just hit the start auto listener. So that one scan is loaded in, we've set up our project on a flow to add, and then you press this button, you'll point it the direction of the output where the LAS will be from processing, and then it'll sit there and it'll bring in the data automatically, calculate the volumes of all your little boundaries you've set up, and using the flow that you've put in, and then it'll carry on going. Going back to how we the hub and the connect, how they play in this. This is really where we start to understand how automated the system is. What I've shown you in GeoSLAM Volumes up till now is just how to set up the project. That will now sit and wait for the next data set. GeoSLAM Connect will then automatically process the data for it to be imported there. So as you can see, there's a lot less clicking problems. Like myself, I have some finger problems now and again, and we can easily mess some data up or processes it in a different way. That's why we've been asked to try and automate this process. The more automated the process and the best we set up the project initially, it will result in a more accurate volume. And it does mean that anybody can go out and do a scan and it'll get you the volumes. That means we can free up people on site to kind of do the more complex operations. Surveyors should be surveying, geologists should be doing the trickier work. We feel that this process is kind of a bottleneck on site. It's something that's handed down and passed around different departments because this is a KPI for most sites. They're only judged on what they're exporting. So we've tried to automate that and make it as easy as possible. So at the end, we've done all this. We've got the references set up. Somebody goes out every week. The data listener's waiting. The Connect is spitting out the data, and we get results like this. We can have lots of numbers on a piece of paper. This is an accountant's team dream. This is what they want to see: accurate volumes and the change over time. And what we have managed to do as well, we've got a pretty neat little graphing mechanism that we've brought in, and we can show the volumes or the tonnage, the absolute volumes, or we can even show the deltas over time. And this is where this really comes into its own. And at the end of this, we can also export it as a CSV, and then you can send it out to your accounts team. These accountants team now, and we're starting to see a lot of head offices becoming a lot more involved with these everyday processes. We are going to have a lot more requests going from quarterly volumetric scans to more monthly or weekly. We're seeing some sites even go toward daily volumetric results. And then having a utility like this where it can graph it really nicely over time and everything beforehand is automated really comes into its own. Another cool little feature we can do for you guys is having alarming setup on stockpiles. We can have an alarm if the volume is above or below a certain level, the tonnage above or below a certain level. We can even have an alarm for the actual height above or below a certain level. And then that will send out an email to whoever needs to know. This is really, really handy for us. You know, a lot of sites need to know if a certain volume has been exceeded. It might hit a conveyor, or if the production is too low. You know, it's these kind of critical volumes. We're starting to go towards a lot more monitoring of volumes rather than obtaining a volume. Monitoring of volume is what head office wants to see. Daily volumes, you know, how our flow rates are at the beginning of a week compared to the end of the week, or at the end of a quarter. This is where things get interesting for a lot of these sites. So just to summarize, you know, we have worked on a way to automate a lot of these processes as much as we can. We're in a very good position now where we can show anybody, we can demo to people how we can do it. You set up the project with an initial scan. First thing you need to do, head out, do the scan, get the control. You can walk, drive, or fly around the stockpiles. We have a very good user case of some customers in England where they're doing this workflow using a drone, and it's, you know, the data looks incredible and is flowing through GeoSLAM Volumes, really nice. And Connect, our new platform, which will be released in the next couple of months. That's what's going to tie everything together. That's our automation. That's where things will become a lot easier on site, and it will become a lot better for you on site. So we have got a scheme together. That's it's a demo in the box scheme. So if you do feel like this is the kind of solution for you, please let us know, and we can send out a scanner for you guys to use for a week, and we can do a one-on-one session to show you how it will integrate into Volumes, or any other application for that matter. We can help you out with that. And please don't forget to follow us on one of our social media platforms. We're quite responsive on that. Myself and Matthew were quite responsive on LinkedIn when it comes to showing these kind of technologies. And yeah, thank you very much for your time. If you have any questions, please, now's the time to ask. I have got one question here asking, can we send out a WhatsApp message from the alarms? Interesting question. You can't do it directly using GeoSLAM Volumes, but we have had customers use we send out an email, and you can have that email then send out an automatic message through WhatsApp to whoever needs it. So we have got a workflow for integrating WhatsApp into that, interestingly. So yeah, thank you for that question.
Owen, I think for the attendees that haven't posted their questions yet, please use the question section just to ask your questions. I see there are a couple of them, so we'll just give some time for those who haven't asked their questions to put that through. In the meantime, I have a question for you, Owen, as well. Does the control points need to be surveyed in, or can we just use fixed points?
Yeah, brilliant question. That's completely up to the user. What we do try and recommend is we just use the first scan. That's fine, and that's what the kind of workflow we're using now. So it doesn't need to be in global coordinates. What we will do, that first scan is critical, and what Connect will do is align the next scan to that first scan. If it's in global coordinates or whatever, that doesn't really matter. If the user wants it to be in global coordinates, we can do that. What most people are doing, they're just using the scanner's own coordinate system from the first scan. So they don't really need to be surveyed in. The first scan that we'll carry out with the horizon technically surveys it in itself.
Okay, brilliant. I do have another one that came in. Can we use predetermined boundaries or flaws?
Yeah, absolutely. That's what most people use again. Predetermined boundaries, we can import them using DXFs. And again, predetermined flows, we import them as point clouds. So what we do recommend is when initializing a project, we will help you with that. We will do that as part of the training and our brilliant level of support from our support team. They will help with a lot of these different stages, so you won't be left alone on that. But yes, you can import a DXF as boundaries or a LAS as a flow.
Okay, brilliant. I've got two more that came in. The one is, what file format does the volume system use?
Volumes imports LAS at the moment. We can import LAS, CSVs, and we are working towards trying to have our own kind of compressed file format. But at the moment, we just work with LAS and CSVs. I'd prefer if we use just LAS at the moment. So yeah, LAS.
Okay, thank you. The other one is multiple projects. Can multiple projects or multiple stock yards be done in the same system?
Yeah, there's absolutely no problem with that. We have a tabbed system when in GeoSLAM Volumes, so you can have as many tabs open as possible. We do recommend that you don't process more than 2 projects at the same time. If you're importing 2 scans at the same time, that should be fine. Anything more, it will be a bit slower. It shouldn't have a problem, but that's when we'll have to look at it a bit differently, try and have a kind of delayed import of that. But you can have as many projects open as possible.
Okay. The last one that I have here is, how are control points taken when scanning with a UAV?
Yeah, again, great question. We have got a workflow where we can import the RTK data in from the UAV itself, so it kind of self-references itself. So that's the kind of workflow we kind of do at the moment. But there's a couple of different ways doing that. We can use targets in the scan, but the automation of that we'll probably try and import the RTK data from the UAV rather than specific control points around the stockpile. I do know of one customer in South America that kind of they take the control points using the stop and go method by landing in predetermined areas. So they'll obviously go up and then they land in certain areas and they'll just take those reference points out. So it's kind of using the handheld stop and go method, but just by simply landing the drone in these predetermined areas. So I think that's pretty cool. So yeah, like anything with our GeoSLAM system, we're really flexible with that.
Excellent. Thanks, Owen. Yeah, it looks like that's all the questions that we've received. Is there anything else from your side, Owen?
No, not really. I'm just really proud of what the team have achieved. This level of automation, the ability to filter out infrastructure is huge. When before we were manually cropping them, in Cloud Compare, we've really stepped up that game. We've listened to what the customers need. And we're just leaving the stockpile left there. And start to end GeoSLAM, we're not recommending using external softwares to prepare data. We're doing it all ourselves. So the team have worked really hard for that, and we've really tried to listen to what customers need for ease of use, so anybody can go out and obtain this data. So I think, yeah, kudos to the team for working so hard on that, and thanks for all the feedback we've had on site. If anybody wants a demo of this, I'm more than happy to do that one-on-one, or if you'd like me to sit in to try and help with a customer who currently have a problem with a stockpile surveys, let's get that ball rolling. Just send the email and we'll have a chat about it, no problem.
Brilliant. Well, thank you very much, Owen. Thank you, everybody, for attending. Once again, if you need any further information, please send us a mail at info@geoslam.com. And once again, Owen and myself, we're open for any type of mining-related questions that you might have regarding GeoSLAM technology. We will be having further webinars focusing a little bit more on the application of volumes in specific type of areas within your value chain, going in a little bit more detail. But thank you very much for joining. Thank you very much, Owen.
Yeah, no, thank you all. Cheers.